Hytale is not just restricted to the world of Orbis. This game contains multiple different dimensions, some which you'll find pretty early on, and some that are hidden away in the game where you might not find them. And in this video, I am going to be showing you every single dimension in the game, including the hidden secret ones that very few people have ever seen.
Loading a creative world for the first time brings us to a place called the Crossroads, a world between worlds where we can access different fragments of memories of a forgotten and broken world. The one in the center is the one that you're most likely familiar with. This is just your survival world. It's got the 4 zones, it's got structures, it's got mobs, it's got game progression. To its right we have super flat, a good place for building, and then over to the left we have an interesting place. If you've flown around, you may have noticed it's not much like the first one. This one is all Zone 3, and not even all of Zone 3. It's not the icy or anything anywhere. It's just the taiga region. Those that have been keeping up with the development of the game may be familiar with this. This is using the Worldgen V2 technology that allows for greater world customization and cool features. This place is filled with wide rivers and tall cliffs. And don't worry, this is just one of the small ones. Your average Hytale world will have an appearance more similar to this in the future than what we have in the regular survival worlds, and it can be fun to look around and see what this world has to offer. This will all be very important later on, so make sure to remember that till later. Now, these 2 portals here are completely creative only, but there are multiple dimensions found throughout the regular game. One of the earliest things you'll find in your journey through Orbis, that is the Forgotten Temple Gateway, right behind this golem here, and if we go through, we'll find the next dimension, the Forgotten Temple. Here is where we find the heart of Orbis, and we get all that memories stuff. This is the last one that pretty much every player has seen. After this, they get more and more obscure. After finding a very large amount of memories, you'll be able to come to the Arcanist workbench and create the ancient gateway and fragments of Orbis. We can use the crystal on the portal to summon a portal to the 3 new dimensions, the Dragonspire Weald, the Windrider Valley, and the Dread Weald. Dragonspire gives us 7 minutes on a little snippet of that World Generation version 2 from earlier. This is the place where you can encounter the Sleeping Dragon. The Windrider Valley fragment pops you near or in an Oasis Valley from Zone 2, once again with the new World Generation, home to many Farron homesteads. And on a rare occasion, this is where you can find a Mage Tower. Also one of the only places in the game where you can find blocks made from oceanic clay and aquastone, along with some incredible hidden loot. And finally, we have the Dread Wave, where we have 7 minutes to explore, with a final 3 minutes of the Void Breach, where a ravenous menace is said to lurk at the heart of the swamp. Unlike the other 2 portal fragments, this one does not appear to resemble larger terrain from Worldgen V2, like the desert and the mountains we saw earlier. This one will be the House of a Great Terror. On the map, there is only one thing really visible, and it's this thing right here. And if we head into the inside, all we'll find is maybe a small ruin with a skeleton and a little toad that wants to say hi. Interestingly, there's also this purple poisoned wood stump here at the middle, which, looking in the game's code, is created from a prefab known as the Hedera Throne. This will likely be a place where the Hedera spawns. What is the Hedera? Well, it is a currently unimplemented mob. If you've ever been trying to complete that list of memories, then that's too bad, as it is the one and only mob listed under the Void Taken. You can still spawn it in, and this creature does seem to have a good deal of functionality, but it is assumed that we're gonna have a pretty good amount of lore here. And that's only the first 7 minutes. You want to be out of here by the 7-minute mark, because if you are not, the Void Breach will begin. as we see our timer hit 0, we will notice the world start to change. Sky grows purple, and the void breach has begun. Off in the distance, you'll notice portals start to spawn. You'll be well acquainted with these creatures by this point, though likely not in this number. As your time grows short until the portal closes, more and more portals will begin to spawn around the land. You'll have to make your way back while evading the dangers of void. One of the most lore-heavy ones we have so far, but that's not the end. If we look in the creative menu, we can find 2 more fragments. These ones aren't as developed as the other ones. There is Silent Henges. Interestingly, in the lore, it says that not every fragment the Ancient Gateway shows will hold the truth. The line between truth and fiction is blurred, but nothing exists without purpose, and perhaps this will hold the key to who built these ancient gateways. Here we're placed in a snowy wasteland. There are stone structures everywhere, and as we make our way to the center of the world, there is this one thing that does stick out. We have this ring of rocks here, and one of them has 2 blue rings in the middle of them. Now, at first I passed this off as not being of any importance, really just decoration, maybe more functionality, we'll come to that later. But as I was messing around with some of the game's unused prefabs, I found that in a place where a portal should be found, some form of blue crystals are used in its place. So this very well could be some sort of gateway in itself. The last one, Tal'Kesi Refuge, a desolate wasteland left by an ancient civilization. We find a truly desolate wasteland, nothing of note other than these large hollowed out vines spreading throughout the landscape and some dense jungle beneath. Bringing up the World Gen again, this is the Worldgen V2 version of Zone 4. And now we've seen every dimension there is in Hytale, right? There can't be more, truly. Well, that's what I thought, until I made the discovery yesterday, and it does not look as many other people have found this either, where there are actually more dimensions in this game, a very large amount. Now, these can only be accessed in creative mode like the last 2. In our creative tools, accessed by clicking B, go down into World, and where you'd find the stuff to spawn mobs, spawn a prefab, change the color of the grass, and other shenanigans. We can also find this uncommonly looked at option called Instances. Now here we're set up with a simple folder and a bunch of different files here. Many of these are familiar. These are the dimensions that we have already been to. Creative Hub, well, that just leads us to the Crossroads. Default Flat, the Forgotten Temple, the portals, they are all places that we've been to before. We've even got the Zone 3 version of the Worldgen V2. However, the crazy part is the other things. So why not start at the very beginning? It's a very good place to start. We've got Basic, and this is a very strange world. We are dropped into a really weird looking world with a grid of dirt cubes. Here we can see that a lot of our mobs only spawn on the dirt cubes. I'd really like to see someone do a survival challenge in this world. It would be quite fun, seeing if it actually is possible to get anywhere. This world is completely empty, void of even a cave, just going up and down seemingly randomly. Next we are brought to Challenge Combat 1, which is this small little ruins here resembling that throughout Orbis, and a little emerald golem that we can fight. Now there's nothing you really get upon defeating him other than the normal drops. There's a high roll chest here with nothing in it, so that'll lead us on to our next instance. Now here we have a cluster of a lot of our familiar ones, though interestingly we have Default and Default Old. These seem to be the same thing for now. They don't lead you to the same world, of course. We've got our flat world, we've got our regular world under default. Now what's going to be very big for some people, we've got Default Void here, which will spawn us in on a map consisting of a singular smooth volcanic brick block. Other than that, just a wide open island. Perfect for skyblock. Getting to the good stuff now, we've got our dungeon number 1, where we're first graced with a model error block. If you have played Minecraft, you might be very familiar with this texture. And here we're going to find a large dungeon looking like some sort of sewer or crypt. This place is very expansive, dropping you into an area which may be a little familiar to some of those older Hytale fans. That's right, this is the very place that the PvP showcase video was filmed in. So if you needed a PvP arena, this will be the perfect place where you can do that, as long as you ignore the error blocks. And it does appear that there is nothing that spawns within this dungeon, so any adventure you have here, you'll have to create yourself. The next one, though, is a very different story. Right at the start, we can see these mobs start to spawn. Got spiders and birds, and even a chest with loot containing swords and torches, which could make this a very interesting thing to send a party of up to 5 people to come through and take on this full dungeon. You've got a full array of enemies, starting off with just rats at the beginning, and then as you progress, you'll be granted with respawn points, more equipment, and progressively harder challenges as you're faced with larger beasts and more difficult goblins. This is by far the best instance in the game, your own little challenge map. This can even be replayed as many times as you want, as it restarts from the beginning every time you load up a new instance. And this isn't just a large cave filled with progressively more and more goblins, as we'll start to eventually get challenges that we never saw in the base game itself, like the giant goblin ogre, and if you manage to get past him, you have the goblin duke to deal with. And do be careful that you don't get knocked off of this platform, as let's just say you're not going to have the best time. This is by far the best unimplemented instance we have in the game, and you really should check it out. Moving on, we can also find the Outlander Dungeon. Right as we spawn in, we can find one of these floating lanterns. Interacting with it will cause it to drop as a spawn egg, which then we can place on the ground, and now we have a little lantern buddy that will follow us around. I believe this feature was first showed off during the Great Mod Showcase right before the game came out, and it's cool to see it actually in the game in some way. But like the other dungeons, this one does not have any challenge itself, other than these small bits of parkour that you gotta do. But this place consists of absolutely 0 mobs, so no fights here either. After that, we have the Movement Gym. If you've been keeping up with Hytale news, this one may be familiar, as this is the place where Simon showed off the climbing updates in Hytale, allowing you to do things like rotate around a rope, climb to the side, and all that fun stuff. So this can be a fun way to play around with that yourself. Up next is the Faction Gym. I don't really know what this place is for. We only get 1 mob that spawns here, and that's our friendly little lamp guy from earlier. But I do think the best thing that you can be doing here is spawning a large amount of mobs and having this be the battle arena. This can be some very fun stuff. Looks like the Jorks won this time. After that, we just have the NPC gym, where the devs can test if a mob is moving right, if they take damage to the spikes. They've got a spot where you can dive off of, and a bunch of other random stuff. So this place exists. Then there's also the persistent, short-lived slow, and timed out. We're spawning here will spawn us just on this small little platform. One of them will have a little error block as well somewhere on here. And it looks like the entire sky is white, so that's interesting. Short-lived slow just sends us to another version of Orbis. Maybe some modifications here, but not that I can tell. After this, we have the portals from the Ancient Gateway. The Hedera, that's the Void Invasion one. Henges, Jungle, Oasis, and Taiga. But where we have our most interesting ones is our zones 1, 2, 3, 4, and their regions. So we have the plains, deserts, taiga, and volcanic. The zone 3 taiga is the Worldgen V2 that we have seen. We've gotten glimpse of the Zone 4 and Zone 2 Worldgen. However, instead of being a fragment, this one will be a more complete world. Here we can see the addition of cliffs that weren't there earlier. We still have these large, hollow, dead roots. We also get some trees, and like all Zone 4, this one consists of just island in the ocean before continuing on for another Zone 4 biome. And now we can see even crazier Zone 4 in here. And we've got it a little bit to a lesser extent. The caves and whatnot are really underdeveloped here, but we still do have our dinosaur jungles to some extent. The leaves are all the same color, and these raptors here are really the only source of light down here. I've just got full bright enabled. And this is only the one biome without any structures, so it will look a whole lot more lively once we get the full release of Worldgen V2. Worldgen V2 in the desert of Zone 2, we are greeted with mostly just sand dunes everywhere. We've got some little hills or whatever with trees, and then we've got all these interesting rock formations that really just remind me of the planet Geonosis from Star Wars. Yeah, and we do get oceans here as well. Now, unfortunately, the palm trees here also are broken just like in the main game, as you can't get any of the actual palm logs. But it's still a pretty cool place. And then lastly, the one I thought was the coolest of the Worldgen V2, from what we don't usually see, would be the Zone 1 plains. So you know those calcite marble cliffs that you see in the plains when you first load into a Hytale world? At first glance, this looks exactly like normal. However, really just looking at it for long enough, you can start to see that it is not anywhere close to that. We've got giant white cliffs everywhere. Got large lakes. This place is big and it is cool looking. We've got these small little ravines here that don't go through any caves, which they do exist in a very weird way. We've got these big forests here, and this is some of the stuff where the Worldgen V2 starts to really get interesting. A lot of these darker trees here are meant to signify that there is a cave or something of the sort underneath it. If we actually look at these, we can see that not only is there this whole shelf and overhang here, we've got the roots coming through, we've got these little thick vines hanging down, and these are actually things you can climb on. We've got these whole little ecosystems down here, and it's actually really cool. So while it's not in the game yet, eventually, when you're playing Hytale, you're going to be coming across terrain not too dissimilar from this. And that, unless there's some other way to find these that I haven't seen, is every dimension in the game, some of the lore story around them, and some exciting new places for you to discover. So now it's your turn to go out there, discover some cool things, and get creating. And I shall see you in the next one.